Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us for our April 2023 Town Council meeting. Lots on the agenda, and look forward to tonight's meeting. Hopefully everyone had a wonderful Easter and Resurrection Sunday. It's good to see some spring today. We may not see it tomorrow, but at least it's here today. So again, look forward to tonight's meeting. At this time, we will have our invocation by Mr. Hinkle, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask everyone to please stand as we recite our pledge.
May we bow our heads, please. Lord, we ask your blessings on this meeting this evening. Come into our hearts and our minds and guide us in thy will, that we make decisions that are both pleasing in your sight and beneficial for our town and its citizens and surrounding community. We ask that you be with those that are infirmed, bring them peace and comfort if it be thy will. We ask that, and we thank you for a nice Easter season and all that went with it, and thank you for the blessings and graciousness of your Son who came and died for us on the cross and for our forgiveness of sins. We ask that you be with all, and anything that you see that we need that we have not asked for, we ask that you grant us. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for your participation. Council, you have your agendas in front of you. I will ask if there are any amendments to tonight's agenda. Staff? Okay. If there are no amendments or adjustments, I'll ask for a motion to approve our agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor, that we approve our agenda adoption.
Thank you, Mr. Now. Motion's on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next set of items are our consent agenda. We've got 3 sets of minutes, some budget amendments, annexation request, setting the public hearing date for the Cynthia Plyler 57 acres for May 11th. And we also have approval of amendment for the personnel policy, as well as a resolution regarding the approval of the Town of Troutman Water Shortage Response Plan. Council, we've reviewed these, I believe, on Monday. These items will be approved with one motion, unless a council member opts to remove it or add to it. At this time, I'll ask for a motion regarding our consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made to approve our consent agenda as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, receive a second. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. We will move on over to item number 3, which is recognition and presentations. I will turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and all those in attendance. This year, we started an employee recognition program, and it didn't take us long to realize that maybe the way we named it was an error, because we called it the Employee of the Month. The department directors and I together conclude monthly what event or what performance that month was worthy of recognition as Employee of the Month. And then at the end of the year, I will, of course, make the hard decision of who our Employee of the Year is. This past month's discussion, we quickly learned by naming it Employee of the Month that we may have been in error, because sometimes it is truly a collaborative effort of a few employees that does something so significant. At this time, I would like to recognize Emily Watson, the Park and Rec Director, so she can speak about these employees.
Tonight, we will recognize 3 employees from the Parks and Recreation Department. As the manager said, this was a collaborative effort over the past year. These guys bring a remarkable amount of knowledge, experience, and leadership to our department. They joined us mid-year last year, and from their first days here, they never shied away from tackling a challenge our team was facing, helping us find solutions, going above and beyond, and thinking outside the box to get the desired end result. They're problem solvers, solution seekers, and collaborators. They work to make our processes more efficient, and they're always financially considerate of public dollars. Late fall, early winter last year, we received a very generous donation from the Carney family for our park, and we knew right away that we would earmark those funds for our dugouts. We'd been researching for some time the cost of the dugouts, and we couldn't believe what it was going to cost us to come up with 4 dugouts that were substantial and quality work. Now that we had our funding, these guys, who hadn't been with us much longer than mid-year of last year, early fall, put their heads together and came up with some drawings and some renderings based on research and some past experiences in previous positions they've been in. And after getting approved and the go-ahead, they began their project of constructing our dugouts for us. Many long, cold winter days, January and February, up and down the ladder, working overhead, going home at night thinking through every detail because it mattered to them that it was right. They built our dugouts at a quarter of the price of what it would have cost us if we'd brought someone in to do them, and they saved our town a significant amount of money. They really put their heart and soul into the project. They are beautiful, and they're structurally sound, and our citizens will enjoy these for many years to come. So tonight we recognize Jay Murdoch, Brent Bussell, and Bobby Deal for their dedication, commitment, and excellence, and we want them to know how much we value them at the town of Troutman. I'll also say it was important to them. They gave themselves their own time frame, that they started the project and they wanted to be done before ball season started. So they put themselves on their own time frame and they met their goals. So they're a true asset to our department, so we appreciate them. And just step forward, the mayor has something for you. And Bobby's under the weather and not able to be with us tonight, so we just have 2/3 of the crew with us.
Well, we'll stay up with council so that they
Stay
all
right
can
here,
stand
right
behind you and take a picture.
That's great. And I'm gonna get one with my glasses. Adam, would you get it? I love these guys, they're great guys. Shark old faces. Jay's out. Thank you.
Good job. Congratulations, thank you.
I would say that it's always awesome to have great employees for the town who do public service for our town and ensure that we've got the services that we need for our town and that in many ways that we want. And so we congratulate these gentlemen for the work that they've done to help improve our park and our town. So again, thank you so much. The next item on our agenda is proclamation. April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And I will just read a couple snippets of the proclamation for your information. Whereas in federal fiscal year 2022, 3.9 million reports were made to Child Protective Services. And whereas child abuse and neglect is a serious problem affecting every segment of our community, and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone. Whereas our children are our most valuable resource and will shape the future of Adair County. Now, therefore, T. Ross Young, Mayor, Town of Troutman, do hereby proclamation 2023 as National Child Abuse Prevention Month in Troutman in partnership with Adair County Department of Social Services, Adair County Guardian Ad Litem Office, Fay Rose Parenting, Children's Hope Alliance, and Dove House Children's Advocacy Center. We urge all citizens to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life for all children and families. And again, this is National Child Abuse Month. I would hope that we as a community continue to protect our children and ensure that they have a safe environment. And we appreciate all the services that many of our agencies engage in to make sure that we're protecting our families, whether it's Child Protective Services, law enforcement, or any of the agencies that I mentioned. So again, thank you for that.
Mr. Mayor, if I may add, we also appreciate all those agencies that you mentioned by name. In front of Town Hall, the Lake Norman Evening Exchange Club has put out a little yard sign and some blue wheels so that people can, catches their attention so that they can know a month that you're speaking of. Also, on our greenway in front of the fire department, one of the lace bark elms, which is the new trees, by the way, is tied with a lot of blue ribbons and also signage there just to bring attention to the issue that we all should be aware of.
Thank you so much for that.
And I just want to mention, I heard on the news just a while ago that every day in America, 5 children are killed from abuse, child abuse. That was amazing that would happen that much.
That's 5 too many. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is our standing quarterly reports, and we just have one tonight, our ABC Store quarterly report. I believe we have our general manager here, Ms. Walls.
Good evening, Mayor Young, distinguished council members, town staff, and fellow citizens. On behalf of the Troutman ABC Board, Leighton Getzinger, Wes Edmondson, and Kim Cavan, I thank you for the opportunity to update you on the store's performance for the end of the third quarter of the fiscal year 22-23. The highlights of the third quarter: we experienced a 7.4 increase over last year's third quarter. We had sales of $698,523, broken down as follows. January was $215,311, which we were up 1.7%. February, $219,390, which was 8.71%. And in March, it was $263,822, which was up 11%. This year's third quarter growth is noteworthy that January and February are usually the slowest 2 months of the year. We attribute the increase in sales in a large part to the new homes coming online. Third quarter distributions: the town of Troutman and its recipients will receive $19,788. Law enforcement will receive $2,567. The alcohol education will receive $3,594. Third quarter net profit, $45,185 this year, which is 6% of sales. Last year, was $47,732. We had a $2,500 decrease, primarily due to payroll. We had 3 payrolls in the month of March. Some months only have 2 payrolls. We had 3 this month. And we've had to add a little bit of extra help on it. It used to be only me and 1 person during the day, but now, as we've grown the business, we're needing more people to help stock the shelves, cash registers. Budgeted profit after distributions for fiscal year 22-23 was projected to be $88,032. Our budgeted revenue for 22-23 was $2,800,000. Year-to-date profit is $187,284 after mandatory distributions. We are currently averaging $10,285 sales per day, and that will drift down slightly over the next couple months, mainly because Christmas elevates it. Current trajectory puts us at $3,100,000 in annual sales. We are at the maximum current retained working capital of $589,368. We also have $61,118 in the special capital reserve. Since opening, we've experienced $11,713,906. Distributions since opening in December of 2016, the town of Troutman and entities received $308,789. Alcohol education and rehab, $69,178. And law enforcement, $49,413 for a total of $420,380. We are at full staff at the moment, and I have nothing new to report on the second store at the moment. We have a couple of administrative issues to work through, and I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Great. I know you answered all mine as you were going through those. So, any questions for Ms. Walls?
I'm just stuck at $10,000 a day.
Well, it goes up like for Christmas, and then it kind of falls down, like when it goes January, February, March, and then summer months when people are traveling. But Christmas kind of puts it up there, so, and then it will taper down a little bit. But with the new houses being online, we've seen an increase over last year or so.
Are you seeing supply chain issues still with getting certain
Not
product?
as bad
Okay.
as it was.
Okay.
If you walk in the store now, we look pretty well stocked.
Okay, good.
And, I know you said, right now you have nothing to really report on the new store, but any rough idea, and I know I ask this probably every time you and Leighton come up here, rough idea of when you may break ground?
I can answer that. Not until Mooresville agrees to the boundary release that we have requested. There's no way they can speculate in a crystal ball until Mooresville does that, or you all as council takes action, whichever that is. We have requested a meeting that will be followed up this week, and unfortunately, that's not in the ABC board's control. That's more of a town issue that's got to be resolved.
We may need the mayor to talk to the mayor down there.
That may happen.
Please relay our hello and good wishes for the chairman, Leighton,
Okay,
please.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we miss him.
Yeah, he's
Does
back
a
to
really
doing
good
a,
job. We like having him. He does-
oh, he wanted to be here tonight, but he had a procedure that he had to do today, so he's doing better, but he's not, completely back at it.
Okay, good. Great. Thank you, Evelyn. Appreciate it. All right, council, the next item on the agenda is old business, and we've got a text amendment, case number TA 2301, mobile food trucks. The request was initiated by town council to amend Article 3 of the UDO adding mobile food trucks as an accessory use with additional standards. I will now open this public hearing and turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whoops. I have a new clicker. It's got a little chicken. What we're requesting this evening is approval of a text amendment to Article 3, which is our land use provisions of our Unified Development Ordinance. And as you stated, this amendment was initiated by council. You all directed staff to look at our ordinance and come up with some language within our UDO to regulate mobile food trucks. So we are suggesting and recommending this evening that Section 3440 and then our table of uses matrix be amended to permit this use within our town and regulate it as well. Just to give you some background, as you briefly mentioned at our last month's meeting, we presented the text amendment to you for the mobile food vendors through the UDO. You all tabled the meeting, the item at that meeting, and the questions that you all had to do with the proposed exemptions within the ordinance, as well as the associated fees that would go along with this use. Just to give you some background, I have provided you some information as to the different types of food trucks, just to help clarify this issue. I believe at our meeting last month, there were some questions surrounding fees for food trucks as well as fees for food trucks that may be at special events. So just to kind of give everyone an idea, there's really two types of food trucks. There's an individual food truck, which is what we are seeking to regulate through our UDO. And then there's also food trucks that are part of special events that would go through our Parks and Rec department, which would be permitted through that department under their special event permit. So what we're talking about this evening is amendment to the UDO for the individual food trucks. Just to walk through the language that we are recommending, I went over this with you last month, but just very quickly for those who may not have been here last month, I'll just walk through it. What we're suggesting are a couple things be added. The first one is that we would add something that would allow mobile food trucks that are owned and operated by food service businesses like a restaurant or a coffee shop or a deli, ice cream store, that these types of businesses would be allowed to own a food truck and operate them on their property under two conditions. One is that the restaurant would be the principal use of the property, and the second is that the mobile food truck would be located to the rear of the principal restaurant structure on the property. So just as an example, I believe the coffee shop across the street is going to start having some breakfast items. They'll be using a small food truck that their business owns, and they would be able to do that. We don't want to prevent those type of things. And then the second part of this item really addresses those individual food trucks. What we were suggesting, and after our conversation last month, I did go back and add some language, which is in red, just to clarify it, to clarify that these are food trucks that are not associated with anything happening in our parks or in our fairground or with those types of special events. So we would allow these food trucks, and I just stated that statement there in red just for clarification, with the following requirements: that they had written permission from the property owner to locate on that property. And I did miss something very important. We would also limit the use of these to 3 months in a calendar year at one location. We would require that all applicable state and local permits be complied with, and that they would provide us proof of that when they are applying for their permit through the town, that any trailers, carts, or related storage be removed by the close of business each day, that the use shall be located a minimum of 15 feet behind the existing right-of-way. We do not want these types of things to be too close to the street. We don't want them to create a visual impairment, so that is what we would recommend there. We would also recommend that these uses be located only on non-residential properties, not residential sites. There would be no signage except for the signs that are already painted on these mobile food trucks. I'm sure you all have seen these. They typically have the name of their business painted on the truck. We would also state that all discharge, waste, trash, anything associated with the business be discarded by the end of each day, business day. We would also have a series of exemptions, and this is where we go into those special event uses, that food trucks participating in town events that are held at our park and any town-owned property be exempt, that food trucks associated with any event happening at the Iredell County Fairgrounds be exempt. And then also, sometimes people do hire food trucks for maybe a birthday party they're having at their home. We don't want to prevent that either. We would just suggest anything that's lasting less than 8 hours, such as a wedding, an HOA event. I know a lot of times HOAs will have a food truck Friday, those type of things. We don't want to prohibit that from happening either. And then one last section that I did add after last month's meeting was section 3, just to further explain that these are temporary uses, that they will be issued, a permit will be issued for each location and separate time period that an individual food truck sets up to operate. So if, say, for instance, a food truck sets up at Food Lion for 3 months and they want to move to the Lowe's parking lot, they would have to come back to us for another permit. This will help us track that. There'll also be an additional fine for that. So special events sponsored by the town or the county fairgrounds are not subject to this permit or the associated fees. So that is staff's recommendation for the language. We would also add these to our use table to the section that talks about accessory and temporary uses. We would add them as a permitted use in all of our commercial districts, as well as our mixed use and industrial districts as well. This staff would recommend approval as written. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. And this is the end of staff's presentation.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Hare?
I just wanted to get clarification on something you said. Can you go back 2 slides?
I can try. There we go. There we go.
Well, one more. So you said in letter D, it cannot be on residential sites. And then exemption is that it can be on residential sites. Can you explain?
Yes, and I think that the difference there
Yeah.
is if someone wants to operate a food truck for 3 months, we don't want it sitting out in front of someone's house. But I think the intent there would be for food trucks who are operating a true business. And the only example I can use is Tony's Taco Truck, is that, it's on a commercial piece of property. And I think that's what we are looking to encourage. We're not looking to allow these things in residential neighborhoods where someone may want to set up a business in their front yard. So that's the difference. One would be for more of a special event. And there is that time period of 8 hours too. Yeah.
Thank you.
I do want to clarify that one more time now. Obviously, 8 hours or less. So someone in a residential neighborhood that's having a wedding at their house or a special event, what have you, a family reunion at a house in a residential neighborhood, can have your food truck for 8 hours or less,
Yes.
sitting in the driveway.
That is correct. I think there's a statement there for 8 hours or less, and it can't be on a public street. So they couldn't park it out in front of the house on the road. They want to put it in their driveway. If they want to bring it in their backyard, this would allow them to do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Hare? Is there anyone here at in the public who would like to comment? Okay.
May I ask a question? With regards to the public right-of-ways exemption, like for weddings, HOA, I've been to HOA events where they actually close the street. Does that therefore not qualify as a right-of-way, meaning the truck could be in the street?
That's a good question.
If it is a town street or a state road, they cannot do that. It's impeding the flow of traffic. If it's private streets, and we do have several neighborhoods in the town with a private street, then that would be an exception.
So it would still need to be in a driveway?
Correct.
Okay.
Or somewhere on the property.
I will now close this public hearing. We will move to item B, item 12B. Council, you've heard from staff regarding this amendment that was requested by council. We will now consider the approval of ordinance 0623 titled an ordinance amending the Town of Troutman Unified Development Ordinance. Is there a motion regarding this ordinance?
Mr. Mayor, before you take a motion, I would like to add additional comments to Councilman Ochter. In full disclosure of me saying it's not allowed, that's inaccurate. There are situations to where people have special events, nonprofits have special events, and by our town policy, if it's a town street, they can come before you all and request permission for the street to be closed. If it would fall under one of those scenarios, then absolutely that would apply in that situation.
Thank you for the clarification. Is there a motion regarding the approval of ordinance 0623?
Mayor, I recommend or make a motion that we approve text amendment, case number T8-23-01 as presented.
Thank you. Mr. Hinkle, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, receive the second. Any other question or comment regarding approval of the ordinance? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. We will now consider our statement of consistency regarding this text amendment. Is there such a statement? And I would ask that you read it in full.
I'll read that statement, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I make a motion regarding consistency of this action, that this text amendment is consistent with the 2018 strategic plan and the Unified Development Ordinance, and is reasonable and in the public interest as it places conditions on mobile food vendors that currently do not exist.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor regarding our statement of consistency. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, receive the second. Any question or comment? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. We will now move into new business. The first item under new business, item 13, is an annexation request, AX 2302, non-contiguous. Applicant is Jerry K. and Joy C. Klein, 10 plus or minus acres. The PIN is 474-069-0651, 726 South Main Street. I will now open this public hearing and turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Yes, sir. This is a request for annexation, a voluntary annexation. As you stated, this thing is tricky. The owners are Jerry and Joy Klein. The property is located at 726 South Main Street. It's 10.5 acres in size. This is a non-contiguous annexation. There is also a change in zoning as requested as part of this annexation, which we will hear in just a minute. Just wanted to show you. Whoops. Oh. I apologize. And that is the request this evening. I wanted to pull up the map just to show you where the property is. The property highlighted in red is the location. It's located directly off of Main Street, or Highway 21, near the intersection of Barkdale Road.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Hare regarding this annexation request? Okay. Anyone here from the public like to comment regarding this annexation request? Hearing none, I will ask that we go ahead and close the public hearing. And before we consider our approval of ordinance extending the corporate limits, I will ask that we move to item 14.
Do you want to hold it?
We want to close it. We will move to item 14 regarding the rezoning request, which is RZ 2301. The applicant is Primax Properties, representing Jerry and Joe Klein, 10 plus or minus acres. The PIN 47-406-9651, again 726 South Main. And this is rezoning from Iredell County Agricultural to Town of Troutman Highway Business. I will now open this public hearing and turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Thank you. Yeah, this is the rezoning portion of the annexation that we just heard. The applicant is Primax Properties on behalf of Jerry and Joy Klein. This property currently is in Iredell County, and it's zoned RA, which is Rural Residential Agriculture. They are requesting that the property be rezoned to the Town of Troutman HB, which is highway business. This is a traditional rezoning, so there's no site plan that's being considered as a part of this request this evening. I have provided you with a copy of our table of uses so that you can see uses that are allowed in that HB district. The property size, as stated previously, is 10.5 acres. And again, the property you can see highlighted there on the screen in red is near the intersection of Barkdale, right off 21. This is a copy of our current zoning map. I just wanted to spend a minute just going over not only what the zoning in this area is, but also some of the uses that have been recently approved. As you can see, the property here in pink, just to the south of the property, that's the Rocky Creek development, which is a mixed-use project. There's a couple different types of residential uses there, townhomes, single family. The density in there is about 4 units per acre. There's also a couple of commercial outparcels that are part of this project. Across the street in that blue color, that's the Troutman Logistics or TPA Group project that was approved, the distribution center, last year. On the corner, this is also zoned HB, both of these parcels. This is the Redwood Apartments, which are currently under construction. In this area, recently we've seen a proposal for a storage facility or mini warehouse facility on that site. So the change in zoning here from residential agricultural to commercial will be similar to other zoning categories and uses in that area as well. This is our future land use map. As you can see the site here, there's several different land uses in this area. One of the reasons is this is an area that's really transitioning as it goes towards Highway 77 and exit 42. The Rocky Creek development, the land use there has been changed to high density residential. The gray is industrial, and then you have your general commercial in this area. This particular piece of property is still shown as medium density residential, as you can see here on the map. I apologize. There we go. The development standards for this project, this is a by right zoning, so all of the uses and development standards have been established by the UDO. There's nothing different that we are considering this evening other than just the HB district and what's already been established by our development ordinance. Again, no concept plan has been attached to the request, and the annexation application for the property has been submitted. The planning board heard this last month at their regular meeting. The board recommended denial of this request at that time based on the fact that they felt like it was inconsistent with the future land use map, which does show it as medium density residential. Staff is recommending approval of the request. That is based on the following. The site's close proximity to exit 42 lends itself to highway business uses and zoning. Recent rezonings of nearby property to LI and HB support the requested change. So staff would recommend approval. On your screen is an example of a consistency statement for your use when you all are ready to make your motion. That's the end of staff's presentation. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to address those. The applicant is here as well this evening.
Great. Before we move on, would the applicant like to speak?
I'll start by saying good evening. Hope everyone's having a good day so far. My name is Kristen James. I work for the engineer that is working with the development team. And Lynn covered most of everything that y'all really needed to hear, but we just want to emphasize that our intention with the annexation and the rezone is to stay true to the spirit of the area that is existing right now. Yeah, it's a larger property that falls into the Lake Norman protected watershed. So it's going to have some environmental regulations already, no matter what the development is. And as Lynn mentioned, the development to the south, the Rocky Creek residential and commercial in the front, is also consistent to what we are trying to do. We can't get too much into the use, but we intend to have 2 commercial out parcels in the front, and they're going to line up with the commercial out parcels that are happening in the southern development, so that there's really that consistency and continuity between the 2 parcels. And that's pretty much all I really have to say. If y'all have any questions, we're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Please sign in if you haven't already. Any questions for the applicant? All right, great. Thank you. Anyone here from the public like to comment regarding this rezoning request? Okay. If not, I will now declare the public hearing closed, and we will move back up to our annexation request, AX 2302, non-contiguous, to consider approval of ordinance 1023, titled An Ordinance to Extend the Corporate Limits of the Town of Troutman, non-contiguous. Is there a motion regarding the annexation request?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 1123, and the ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from Iredell County residential agriculture to Town of Troutman highway business.
I'm sorry, we're moving back up to number 13.
Oh, we got to go back to the other one?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll make the motion, we'll annex the property, that one?
So the motion on the floor to consider to approve
Okay.
the ordinance 1023, titled An Ordinance to Extend the Corporate Limits of the Town of Troutman, non-contiguous. That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any question or comment? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. We will now move back down to item 14 to consider approval of ordinance 1123. Is there such a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion of ordinance 1123, in order to change the zoning classification of after described property from Iredell County residential agriculture to Town of Troutman highway business.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any question or comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item is to consider a statement of consistency. Ms. Harris presented a couple of statements. I would ask that you read this statement in its entirety.
I'll read that then. Rezoning to highway business is consistent with the 2035 future land use map and with the current land use pattern of the area. The request is consistent with the currently adopted Unified Development Ordinance. The request is reasonable and in the public interest as it proposes to allow commercial development in areas of Troutman where it is appropriate.
A statement of consistency has been provided. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Motion is made, received a second. Any question or comment? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Next item is a text amendment, TA 2306. Request to amend Article 6.2.3, additional requirements for certain permitting signs, providing language that will allow off-site monument signs for multi-tenant retail centers. This time, I will open up this public hearing and turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Thank you this evening. This is a request for a text amendment that's brought before you by staff. We are recommending or suggesting that an amendment be made to Article 6 of our ordinance, which deals with signage in our town, specifically Article Section 6.2.2 that addresses multi-tenant monument signs. What a multi-tenant monument sign is when there's a shopping center and you have more than one tenant there. Usually there's the anchor tenant's name is really large, and then the other tenants in the center will have a space on that sign that might be a little bit smaller. I apologize, this thing is giving me a fit. There we go. Well, went too far. So it was brought to staff's attention that our current UDO does not allow or accommodate for multi-tenant commercial signs. A lot of times what happens in a shopping center is there's usually out parcels. So you'll have like your anchor store sitting to the rear, and then you'll have out parcels in the front. So a lot of times the monument sign is not actually on the property where the shopping center sits. It's sitting out on the main roadway where it needs to be, but our current ordinance would not allow that. Just to give you an example of what I'm talking about, this is a shopping center. I think this might be in Virginia. There's a Food Lion shopping center to the rear here, and then as you can see out front, there's several out parcels, and those out parcels is typically where the signage would be. You would need it at your entrance there between that 1.1 acre site and 1.72 acre site. And that is not on the property. A lot of times it's owned by the shopping center. Those out parcels will be sold to whoever's developing those. And a lot of times there's an easement agreement between the shopping center owner, the tenant there, and the out parcel owner. So what we are recommending is that language be added that would allow for this type of signage, that wherever there's a multi-tenant shopping center that doesn't have frontage on a major or minor thoroughfare or arterial roadway, that the multi-tenant monument sign as permitted by this section be placed off-site as follows. That the monument sign may be located on property that's 500 feet from the commercial center that's providing advertising for that shopping center. That is what the intent of this is for. We also would suggest that the property where the sign's located must be located on a major or minor thoroughfare or arterial roadway, and that there's an easement agreement between the owners of the commercial center and the property owner where the sign is to be placed, and that's recorded, so that is an easement between those property owners, so there's no issues in the future. Just to let you know, this came up. We have a new Food Lion shopping center going up down to the charter school. And this came to our attention when they were trying to get permits for that sign. We realized we really just didn't have any language in our ordinance that would allow this. So this is something that we just need to take care of so that we can permit these types of signs going forward. So that is staff's recommendation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Great. Is there any questions for Ms. Hare?
So the new food line is what prompted
That
this?
is- yes, sir.
Or new anchor shop or whatever it's going to be out here, right? Just due to where I live, I noticed that one of these monuments was recently removed from a shopping center up the road here.
That was because the sign, if we're talking about the same one, was not in proper standards. It had electrical wires exposed. It had some other things. So once one of these are built, they still have to be maintained to a certain standard.
Okay, but the lack of any of this language had nothing to do with that.
It did not.
clearly.
It was due to the quality of the structure.
Thank you.
Other questions for Ms. Hare? Okay. Anyone here from the public like to comment on this text amendment? Okay, if not, I will declare this public hearing closed. Council, you've heard from Ms. Hare. We will now consider approval of ordinance 1223, titled An Ordinance Amending the Town of Troutman Unified Development Ordinance. Is there a motion regarding this ordinance?
Mayor, I'll make the motion, the approval of text amendment, case number TA 23-06 as presented, and the ordinance that you referenced.
Motion's on the floor to approve the text amendment and the ordinance as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any question or comment? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item is to consider a statement of consistency regarding this ordinance. Is there such a statement? And again, I would ask that you read it in its entirety.
I'll read that. I make a motion regarding consistency of this action, that this text amendment is consistent with the 2018 strategic plan and the Unified Development Ordinance and reasonable and in the public interest, as it would provide language allowing monument signage for multi-tenant commercial centers, providing Troutman the ability to create more effective signage for commercial users while also benefiting the town.
Motions on the floor regarding a statement of consistency. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Motion is made, received a second. Any question or comment regarding this statement? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Next item is the Town of Troutman Bike and Pedestrian Plan. I will now open this public hearing and turn it over to Mr. Andrew.
Thank you. It's been a while since I presented in front of this board, so I hope everybody's doing well tonight. We are discussing the bike and pedestrian plan. What I'm going to go over today is the background and the process of the plan, and then I'm going to touch base on some of the recommendations of the plan, which involve the recommendations list and some maps, the next steps, and hopefully we get a motion to adopt tonight. Project overview and background. The North Carolina Department of Transportation Integrated Mobility Division was the division that funded this plan. There was a small local match. This was all determined before I started, but I believe it was about $5,000 on the town's side. Points of contact, we had a point of contact from the town, a point of contact from NCDOT, and then we had a consultant that was chosen by NCDOT, the consultant's VHB, who was the point of contact actually creating the plan. The process started in July of 2021, and I'm in front of you tonight for the final adoption of the plan. We did have a steering committee, which was made up of local stakeholders in town, and I believe the list of the steering committee members was included in your packet. We had 4 steering committee meetings. We had a walking field visit at the beginning, basically to look at the inventory of existing conditions, and this did include the steering committee. We had a bicycle field visit, which did kind of the same thing, but this only involved town staff, the consultant, and CARTPO members due to liability issues. What you'll see is a developed list of priority recommendations, and I'll show you a few visuals of some visuals that the consultant drafted up, which are kind of neat to look at. The plan will support the town in an effort to get grants in the future, which is a big plus of this plan. And then also some of the improvements you see in this plan, the town may be able to implement itself, or developers with projects we see move forward. Project schedule. This was a 3-phase project. The first phase was the existing conditions phase. This consisted of 2 steering committee meetings, a public workshop, and an online survey. Basically, this was just to do an inventory of the existing conditions. The public workshop was virtual due to COVID restrictions at the time. This did take place in the fall of 2021 during a spike. And the online survey was there basically to get feedback from the community about what they'd like to see. The second phase was the analysis and outreach phase. This again involved another steering committee meeting, another public workshop, and another survey. This was basically to take what we got in phase 1, throw it on a map, and see what people thought about it. I'll say the public workshop was actually a pop-up event that we set up during the 2022 Sprint into Spring 5K event. So we were able to kind of finally get together with some staff members in person, as the COVID restrictions had lessened a little bit at that time. I will say we ended up getting over 300 comments on our surveys. So with a town this size and plans that I've been involved with, I think that should be commended that the consultant was able to get that many comments. The final phase was the plan development, and this is basically just taking everything we had, putting it together in a plan. We had 1 steering committee meeting to make sure they were on board with what they were seeing, and then the final draft was submitted to NCDOT for review in August of 2022. You'll notice August was a long time ago. We still haven't gotten the go-ahead from NCDOT, but my patience was kind of running out, so I decided to move this forward. The nuts and bolts of this project, it identifies 78 projects to improve the walking and biking in Troutman. These consist of 20 what I consider crossing or intersection improvement projects, 24 sidewalk projects, 28 multi-use path projects, 4 on-road bicycle improvement projects, and 2 bridge improvement projects. Some of the highlights of the plan. This replaces the 2028 pedestrian plan. The plan's not only outdated, but it doesn't include any bicycle infrastructure. And also, in 2008, we didn't have the satellite annexations that exist south of Exit 42, so none of that was included in that plan. The plan does give high-level cost estimates and for the projects, which is in the plan, and this kind of helps identify realistic improvements that the town can pursue. The plan identifies programs and policies ranging from complete streets, which I'll touch on a little bit later, and just education opportunities for the citizens. If the plan's adopted, the town staff, again, will be able to pursue some more grant opportunities. Again, if the plan is adopted, we'll be able to require developers to install some of these improvements if properties that they're developing have the improvements on those properties. And then the last thing, the projects are scored, and they used an easy-to-understand criteria, which consisted to connections to destinations, connections to downtown or Lake Norman State Park, completing the existing network, minimizing conflict with motor vehicles, traffic volumes, cost effectiveness, and environmental justice. This is just some pictures of some of the events we held. There's a couple pictures of steering committee meetings, the pop-up event we had last March, and then the bicycle and walking infrastructure tour. Plan recommendations, and I will say this guy riding his bicycle on Main Street is not me. The first thing we did was we identified priority corridors. These are basically the roadways that get you from places to places. These shouldn't be surprises. Main Street, Wagner Street, Perth Road, State Park Road, Tally Road, Old Mountain Road, the Weathers Creek Greenway, and East Mambo Road. This shows the facility recommendations. As I mentioned, we had 78 of them. What you see here in red are sidewalk projects. The blue are on-road bicycle projects. The green are multi-use path projects. And though it's not in the key, there's some yellow dots on there, which are the crossings and the intersection improvements. This is basically the same map. It's just zoomed into downtown. You'll notice the majority of the projects are in the downtown area. So we would like to increase the infrastructure to allow some more walkability within the town. We identified 7 priority projects. These are the projects that scored the highest with the criteria I had mentioned earlier. There are 2 sidewalk projects and 5 intersection improvement projects or crossings. If we go to the next slide, please. This is a list of those projects. You'll see the 2 sidewalk projects are along Main Street, and then the crossings are basically either along Main Street with some of our intersections we have, and we also have the Church Street intersection, and then also a couple on Wagner, West Ave and Thomas, where we have our school crossing signs up that frequently get damaged. These are some of the visuals that the consultant created, and I just wanted to kind of show these to you as just as an example of what we can see. This shows a crossing basically from right out in front of us tonight over to the coffee shop. And what you see here is what's called a rectangular rapid flash and beacon. And what this does is it just, when there's a pedestrian there, you hit a signal, it warns people that there's going to be a pedestrian crossing. So you're warning the motorist to stop because somebody's wanting to cross the street. And again, this is just an example, so it's not anything in stone, just something to show. The second one I'm showing here is just some improvements to the Main Street, Murdoch Road, and Old Mountain Road intersection. You'll see there's some pedestrian crossing signals here. The actual crosswalks are now painted. And then we've got that slip lane where you take a right from Old Mountain Road onto Main Street. That had been removed in this example, and that island had been removed, and the intersection had kind of been straightened out. Just to avoid that, that's another conflict with motor vehicles that could occur. Next slide. And then the last one is just showing a multi-use path along Wagner Street on the western side across from the Quail Haven subdivision. And this would be part of a project that's identified eventually to have a multi-use path from town down to the state park. Next steps and other discussion. The planning board did approve or recommend you approve this plan in March. I mentioned this is currently under review with the NCDOT IMD division. We don't anticipate any changes from them, just maybe some text changes if there's some missing periods or commas or whatnot, but we don't anticipate anything major with them. Again, this plan, we're currently in the process of developing a mobility plan, which is focusing on the actual roadway intersections in town. We do intend to incorporate the recommendations in this plan within that plan so we can have them all in one document. Future grants will be able to compete, I would say, a little bit better if we do have an adopted plan showing some projects we have. And then I'd mentioned Complete Streets a couple times. What Complete Streets is, it's a NCDOT policy that was adopted in 2019. And what it basically states is on an NCDOT facility, that if Department of Transportation goes in and improves that facility, and what we were told, this even includes resurfacing, that any local adopted plan that shows any kind of bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure on that segment of roadway, the DOT is to put in those improvements. So with adopting this plan, if that's the case, if what we were told in 2019 is what moves forward with that policy, we've got a little bit more firepower to get some stuff done from NCDOT. And a good thing about that is with those priority corridors that we showed, all of those are NCDOT facilities. So if they start to improve those corridors, we should see some of these on NCDOT's dime. And with that, that's the end of my presentation, and we're just asking for the council to adopt the plan, and I'll take any questions any of you have.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. Is there any question from council of Mr. Ventresca on this plan?
I have a question. It's an ignorant question, but just based on like some of the drawings that you had and then some of those renderings, which were really helpful for me, but how do we differentiate a sidewalk from a greenway?
It's really the width. A sidewalk is what you're looking at is basically like a 5-foot slab of concrete, where a greenway is kind of a term that's kind of going to the wayside. It's now considered to be a multi-use path. You're looking at a 10 to 12 foot segment of asphalt, concrete, or something to allow more users to use it. Sidewalk, you're going to have conflicts if you have a bicycle and a pedestrian on it, even a pedestrian and a pedestrian, a stroller, a dog. The greenways are just basically wider, and they just allow more modes to use them.
Okay, so as far as our plan goes, though, that's really just a classification.
That's right. That's right.
It doesn't, but they both fall under the mobility plan.
That's right. And you'll notice that the majority of the sidewalks are on the inner city side town streets where there's not as much motor vehicle traffic, where our multi-use paths are on the more heavily traveled roadways.
Right. Yeah. What got me thinking was when you showed that rendering at Old Mountain, right? Because that's technically green, multi-use. What did you say?
It's a multi-use path.
Multi-use path.
Yes.
I got to get used to that one.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So that's a multi-use path. However, it still looked like it still had some of the same, the crosswalk.
Yeah.
Things like that. So.
Yeah. Typically, and I'll say I'll just talk a little bit more about greenways, and a greenway is typically something you'll see along a river or along a railroad, just somewhere that's not near a roadway. And then a side path is what you'll see along a roadway. So we just kind of bunched them all into one word and said they're just all multi-use paths.
Other questions for Andrew? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here from the public that would like to comment regarding the Town of Troutman bike and pedestrian plan? Okay. If not, I will declare this public hearing closed. Council, you've heard from our staff associate planner regarding this plan. Appears to be very well done. Lots of input from outside stakeholders. We will now consider the adoption of ordinance 1323 regarding the Troutman bicycle and pedestrian master plan. Is there a motion regarding this ordinance?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Motion's on the floor to adopt the ordinance 1323. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other question or comment? Okay. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item on the agenda, before I do that, Andrew, you don't have to be a stranger. You're welcome to come anytime. Next item on the agenda is the selection of the Town of Troutman Citizen of the Year. and the organization of the year. I will now turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
At this time, Mr. Mayor, I apologize. At this time, Mr. Mayor, we had numerous applicants for our Citizen of the Year. I'm speaking with you all, some as individuals. It definitely made you all's task very hard to identify one because there were so many good applicants, but it is basically up to you all now to reveal who that person is.
Great. So, Council, you've heard from Mr. Wyatt. I would agree, looking over the applicants for both Citizen of the Year and Organization of the Year, you all have a tough job. Again, it's also a good thing that we've got great, number one, great citizens who impact our town in a very positive way, but also we've got some folks who feel really good about these applicants and went out of their way to make nominations, and so I appreciate those folks who made the nominations as well. So we'll start with Citizen of the Year. Is there a motion regarding Citizen of the Year?
Well, Mr. Mayor, as I looked through this group of them, and kind of narrowed it down for ways to two, but then one just stood out as really worthy of it, and it's your turn. I would like to make a motion that we nominate Mary Starks as Citizen of the Year.
Okay. All right. Motion is on the floor to approve Mary Starks as the Town of Troutman Citizen of the Year. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Motion is made, receive the second. Any question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. That will take us to the selection of the Organization of the Year. Is there a motion regarding Organization of the Year?
And Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion that I nominate local food line grocery store of Troutman as our Organization of the Year.
Motion's on the floor to approve the local food lion as the Organization of the Year. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, receive the second. Any other question or comment? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. And again, I thank all the both citizens and organizations. I'm hopeful that we will have them, if they didn't win this year, back in the queue for next year, because it sounds like they all do some awesome things for our town. And I appreciate the council's deliberation on this and the process, and for staff ensuring that the word got out and got us a list of folks to nominate. So thank you for that. The next item on our agenda is public comments. The public is invited to address the council with comments or concerns. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. Speakers are required to sign in at the podium and adhere to policy 51 regarding comments from the public at town meetings. At this time, I will ask if there's anyone here in the public that would like to address the council regarding any comments or concerns.
Come forward and sign in, please, sir.
Have I already signed in? First of all, good evening, everyone. First time at a council meeting, so thank you. Thank everybody for the town of Troutman for your service and your dedication. It's much appreciated. Now, what I'm going to say next, though, it probably doesn't sound too good. I'm here. I live at 621 Stillwater Road, and I'm asking to be removed from the taxation of the city of Troutman. And reason being, we're the only property on what would be the east side of Stillwater Road that actually is in the city of Troutman. The balance of all those properties are in Iredell. They are not in Troutman. But I knew that when we bought the lot. I also thought we could have water when we bought the lot. There's no water lines in front of our house. They're either up on Morrison Farm, or they're about 150 yards, will be somewhat northwest of us. The water line stopped there and somehow went west up onto Morrison Farm. They did not bring any water lines down the balance of Stillwater where we live. So I tell everybody that I have the most expensive garbage bill in probably the United States, because I get garbage service, and we do get a drive-by by the town of Troutman, but we also get the same drive-by by Iredell County Sheriff's Department, since one part is Iredell, one part is Troutman. So I feel I'm getting way overtaxed for what the services that we receive.
What's your name again?
John Mahalik. And just to add to it, so I don't take up time, I actually called back in 2018, 2019, and spoke to someone to say, hey, look, you know, this just doesn't seem fair. The person was extremely nice, wasn't rude whatsoever, but said, ain't gonna happen. So then I spent a great deal of time dealing with Senator Sawyer, who was gonna take it to the state. And then I got back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So finally, she said, no, this isn't the place for it. So then she directed me back to the town, and that's why I'm here. So I spent a great deal of time dealing with the county commissioners and also with the state. So that's my request.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, and also to you, sir, I think we've had a couple email exchanges
Yes.
as well. And just for those that may be viewing on our video, and to remind you all and the applicant, I apologize to you, first of all, that for whatever reason you kind of had to run around over years. That certainly was not current staff or misinformation from anyone here, but the statute does require, once a property is annexed, a legislative bill passed in Raleigh. That's not anything we can do on the local level. However, as he has tried to do once he learned that and reached out, it is very customary in Raleigh that no bills like that ever pass unless the local municipality hears or reviews and sends a recommendation in one way or the other. And our staff research of us trying to find those, we have not found a case that it has occurred. That don't mean that it can't. It don't mean that it shouldn't. It's just one of those things that historically, and I don't know in this case, we've not had the exchange, if he bought the property knowing it was already annexed into the town or not. And those are some of the factors that I know was discussed somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 years ago when a property was requested to be de-annexed off of Hoover Road. But I'll be glad to answer any questions from the staff perspective that you all or the gentleman may have as far as any clarity of the process.
Good, thank you. So I would say at this point, Ms. Mahalik,
Yes.
at the time that there are comments from council, they'll be able to address it. But thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Down here say correctly that no water, sewer, or trash.
I have trash, I'm sorry.
You get, okay.
I do get trash, yeah.
Okay.
But again, that's subcontracted. I could get trash a lot cheaper on my own.
There would be all the services that we provide to others, the trash, the recycles, and the leaf and limb pickup if it's there.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else would like to address the council with comments or concerns? Okay. All right, hearing none, I will close the public comment section, and we will move to reports and comments from town council members, myself and staff. I will start with council members, and I will start to my left with Mr. Harris.
Okay, well, I'd just like to recognize Justin, our finance director, for such a good job of presenting the proposed budget for this year, and work with all the staff, department leads, made it very good. and easy for us to understand and follow on yesterday. Appreciated that work you did. And another congratulations to Barry Starks and Food Line, both well-deserved choices.
Yeah. Ms. Harris?
Really quick, I hope everyone had a great Easter. Actually, wanted to thank Justin as well for a great meeting on yesterday, and all the staff who did the presentations as well. Great meeting yesterday. I thought we had great use of time, very productive to me. I was glad to see so many citizens nominated for Citizen of the Year and so many organizations. Before, we didn't have that many, and to see so many coming in, see a lot of people feel so good about different people in our community is just great to see. And congratulations to Miss Mary and to Food Line, and that's all I have.
Mr. Now?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also, I would like to congratulate our Citizen of the Year, Miss Mary Starks, for the work that she does in our community. It's been very just deserving. And Food Line does a lot for our community and our town itself also, so congratulations to them. And I would also like to send best wishes out to the South Iredell High School ROTC as they embark on their journey to the national championship in Nashville, Tennessee. I wish them all the best of luck and success.
This is not the first time they've been there and/or won.
This is actually the 5th time that they have went, that have been national champions and national runners-up.
Stuff. Thank you.
Top Fisher does a great job with those young people up there regardless of what years it is.
That's correct.
Hopefully, we'll be able to present them with a proclamation of the championship.
Great. Mr. Aksha?
Of course, would like to echo everyone's comments without repeating them. It was great meetings this week. Also had some great meetings down in Charlotte at Centralina. So this has been government week for me. Right now, I feel like a kid ready to go on spring break. But thank you for coming and bringing this to our attention. Definitely raises some questions. But again, thank you for bringing it to us. Yeah, great job by everybody in your preparation on the staff side. Yesterday went very smoothly, let alone the data, the way it was presented, everything was really top notch. Justin, I would like you to flex those Excel skills. You started talking about them. I want to see what you got. All right, so. But again, everything was really good, really good. So thank you, staff.
Mr. Hinkle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to expand a little bit on what Council Lady Harris said, and Councilman Harris. Congratulations to the winners, and had a great pool to select from. And I just want to say, in any contest, you have winners, and normally the term is, and losers. But in this case, I'm going to say we have winners. Winner of Citizen of the Year, winner of Organization of the Year, but we don't have any losers. We simply have others that did not achieve the status of a winner this year, but they're still winners, or they wouldn't have been nominated. And I look forward to next year. Hopefully they'll be renominated, make our job easier next year, because even though we had the hard task of picking winners, I look forward to next year to further recognize people and organizations that do great things for our community and its citizens. And, thank all.
Great, thank you. Not to reiterate, I think I've said my piece on both Citizen of the Year and Organization of the Year. So again, congratulations. I would also echo just all the staff engagement the last 2 months with our strategic planning, as well as our budget, matching things up with our priorities and what we believe our citizens want and our citizens have said to us from a budget perspective. So again, really good work the last couple of months and really appreciate it. So thank you all for your engagement. I would only echo some of the comments lastly, that Mr. Wyatt mentioned, I guess in my 10 years on council, Mr. Mahalik, council has not supported a de-annexation. I would say council can consider it and come back next month. If they want to make a decision on sending a letter of support. I would say, as Mr. Wyatt said, all the, I'll say loosely, powers that are vested within a town or a municipality in North Carolina is given to us by the state legislature. And it is completely up to the state legislature whether or not they can annex or de-annex a property or change the boundaries of a municipality. It is one of those where once we are asked to annex in, that, at least in my time, 10 years here, has not changed. And doesn't mean that it won't. I'm just giving you my perspective. And I would say a lot of that has to do with laws that were changed years ago where towns used to could involuntary annex properties. And today that's not the case. It's all voluntary annexation. So again, I'll give you that feedback, but it'll be up to one of these council members if they want to offer that letter of support to the legislature. At this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Wyatt for his comments.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At this time, we'll go with the blue first, and we'll come back around this side, coming up to the chief last for director reports.
Hi, good evening, Council. Also feel like I spent a long time with you all this week already, but I appreciate all your time and consideration when we're going through the budgets. From the HR side, very loud mic. On the HR side, I'm still waiting for the medical renewal rate so we can get open enrollment started so that we can get our next round of benefits moving for the employees. We are doing an audit of our property and liability to make sure that we have all proper properties being insured the way they need to be. And that should be finalized here shortly and submitted for that renewal for this year as well. Also on the HR side, we had 4 new employees start this week within the town. So you'll see up front, Jessica and Susan have started in customer service and utility billing, and will also be supporting our upcoming passport office. We have Darren in our Parks and Rec department. Is going to be a full-time maintenance tech there, our first full-time maintenance for the parks. And then we have Jonathan is our master mechanic, who's going to be adding a great value for the town, working with Adam, and looking forward to all of them. They're all doing great for their first week and really hitting the road, hitting the ground running, and happy to have them. Beyond that, that's really all I have.
All right. From the Parks and Recreation Department, we have a number of events I want to make you all aware of. On April 22nd, we have our annual Earth Day event, a community cleanup. We'll meet here at Town Hall at 9 a.m. We'll probably go till noon or so. In previous years, we've collected on average 700 to 800 pounds of trash in our community in a couple of hours. So we'll meet together, divide up into teams, and then go out and work on cleaning the zones up. So invite all of you to attend and participate with us. Just email and let us know that you're coming so we know to look for you. You don't need to bring anything. We've got all the supplies.
Bring help.
Bring some help. Yep. Community bike.
Emily, what day was that again?
April 22nd, on Earth Day itself.
On
It's a
Earth Day,
Saturday.
okay.
Yep. Community bike event on May 13th. Planner Andrew here is going to be leading us on a flat out and back course that's relevant for anyone, whether you're a beginner or more advanced. We're also going to be going over our bike repair station that we received on a grant, how to use it, how to put air in your tires, how to change your tire, those kind of things. So we're going to meet down in the park at 10 a.m. on the 13th, and that's free for all to come. no fee to attend, open to the family. We have police support for our course, so it's safe, and we've publicized the map, so if anyone has questions about what the route would look like, that kind of thing, it's all on Facebook on our event. It's also on our website. So that's May 13th at 10 a.m., and that's in celebration of Bike Safety Month for May.
Now, I have seen Andrew ride.
Yeah.
That's a little scary, but you say it's for everybody.
Well, it's better than me, so yeah. He's our guy. He's the one
All
for
right.
the job. Yep. So we have our Red and Blue 5K, and I'll let the chief talk more about that. But we've been in partnership with the police department and the fire department, collaborating to put together a 5K in May. So I'll let him talk more on that. But we also have coming up on Wednesday nights in May down at the pavilion in the park, Ultimate Burn, which is a high-intensity workout aerobics course by Michelle Leach. She is phenomenal. She's a lot of fun. She's a lot of energy. So the parents who have kids over at soccer practice or baseball practice, they're welcome to come over and do an aerobics course under the pavilion. We're going to move the tables out, turn the music up, turn the fans on. So she's offering a high-intensity workout course on Wednesday nights at 6:30. And then Thursday nights, we have yoga in the park, and that's at 5:30. So Wednesday nights, you can get aerobics. Thursday nights, you can get yoga. And that's in May. And then we're also accepting applications for our Independence Day Parade. So those are online on the website, or you can pick them up here at Town Hall. Invite you all to participate in any of that, and if you have any questions, call or email. Happy to answer them.
All right. Well, we in Public Works are wide open as usual. We got some greenway trees planted last week, so you notice those. We got those in. They should add a lot of beauty to our already beautiful greenway. So that was exciting. We got the CCR done and submitted to the state. That's our Consumer Confidence Report. All that is going to be coming out. You'll see that in your newsletter. It's just an overview of our water quality reports throughout the whole year. And then it's a compliance project we have to do with the state to certify that we're providing safe, clean water. This loose day, we got Jonathan, our new mechanic within Public Works. I feel like he's going to really, as Lou said, be a great asset to, great addition and great skill set to what we can add to that department. Taking care of all our vehicles, equipment, everything. He's certified, multiple certifications through Ford. So he's going to be a good asset for the town. And Eddie, I about called you the other day. I got a call from the sewer guy. He said, well, Adam, I got some good news and some bad news. And I talked with Duck yesterday. It's kind of comical. Expect nothing less in this situation than what happened. But he said, your sewer jetter will be in South Carolina Friday. I said, okay, that's good news. And he said, but it's painted to a Greensboro spec, which is 100 green. They read the code wrong and painted our entire jetting machine green. So he said, would you be willing to take like that if I threw some jetting nozzles in? I said, no, sir. I said, we paid $300,000 for it. We want it white. So it's going to be about a 2-week turnaround, get it repainted, sandblasted, and recoated. So just keep your bottle ready. We're going to crack it.
You didn't want to look like leprechauns?
Thank you for being very diligent on that, Adam, and I'll keep the champagne chilling for the christening.
It's just getting better with age, Ed.
It's only gonna get finer, the champagne's.
That's right, that's right. That's all I got. So there you go. There's your Public Works report. Y'all can settle down now.
Thank you for all the kind comments, Council, about the budget workshop and strategic planning session. We've got great department heads here, and makes my job a lot easier, and a great town manager, and supported by a great council. So it's a team effort, and you know, I'm really blessed to be here, and we've got great staff here, and so that just makes everything a lot easier. Lou kind of stole my thunder. We did have 2 new employees that started on Monday. One of them is Jessica Davidson, and the other one is Susan Kinahan. And hopefully I said her name right. But they're both from the Mooresville School District. I didn't? What is it?
Hanahan.
No, 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 it's Kinahan.
Kinahan.
You're listening to a
Well, anyways, she's doing a great job, no matter how you pronounce her last name. But they're being taught and trained by Kimberly and Tanya, so they're in good hands up there. And I told them today, I said, I'm sorry I haven't been too present with you. I've sort of been cooped up in the office, trying to get the budget ironed out. But I said, I promise going forward I'll be able to spend more time with you guys. But we're excited to have them on board and just keep the train rolling.
I just wanted to take a minute to thank Andrew for all his hard work on the mobility plan. I think that was a grant that was here when he and I both arrived, and he really just. Did you get the grant for the mobility plan?
Mobility plan, the one tonight.
I'm sorry. For the pedestrian and bike plan, I apologize. I was going to mention the mobility plan too. He did get that one. But the bike and ped plan was something that was here when we both arrived, and he just really jumped in there and totally took charge of that project. So I really just wanted to thank him for that. He did a great job. Code enforcement, I just wanted to mention a couple things there. I think our whole planning department is here tonight, so I just wanted to take a moment just to recognize the hard work that Shane's been doing. We've been getting some things cleaned up, some yards and some things that were just in the town for a long time that needed to be taken care of. He's doing a really good job of doing that. Things are slowly starting to happen. Some dilapidated buildings are starting to come down. So he's doing a real good job and staying on top of that. So just wanted to recognize him and thank him for his hard work too.
What's his last name?
Harris.
Best
Best name in town, right?
Wow. Yeah,
We're still issuing a lot of
sunshine,
lot of permits, so that's keeping us busy too. A lot of new construction, a lot of new houses. So, Mayor, you had mentioned EV charging stations and seeing if we could get some grants for those. I did look into it. Volkswagen has a program. I guess it was part of a lawsuit. They had to distribute some of those funds. I think we may have missed a window for that. There's a little bit of work we're going to have to put into getting one of these grants. But there is a workshop that I'm going to attend online that the COG in Raleigh's putting on next week. So I'll try to gather some information and bring that to you hopefully next month. And then Andrew did get another grant for the bike helmets. There was a bike helmet grant that DOT, was it a DOT grant? And we got 25 bike helmets that he's going to distribute at his bike event. And then that mobility plan I briefly mentioned is we have a survey that's online. So I just want to encourage everyone to go on there, look at that survey. Please participate. I would love your opinions on the intersections that have been identified and will be included in that plan. So we are working on that. We've had a couple steering committee meetings, and right now we're in that data gathering portion of the plan. So that's all. Thank you.
If you don't mind, could you just maybe like next week or something, just shoot me an email about those EV grants? I want to help look a little bit, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Sure.
Just to come back real quick to a couple of things you said, Lynn, just to make sure, again, I appreciate Andrew, all the work that's went in over the last couple of years on that bike ped plan. I know we've talked about it forever as well, and never had it, fully baked. And so not only fully baked, but it was very thorough. So again, appreciate that and the relationships you have with both DOT and some of the outside stakeholders. So again, thank you, real asset. Another Mr. Harris here. It's very noticeable of the work that you're doing in the community. So again, we appreciate that. And again, that just having the community touch, as well as making sure that folks are following our UDO and our requirements, again, is much appreciated. So next time we'll give you an hour to make a presentation. But okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Wyatt.
During for the month of March, we officers responded had a 12% increase in the number of calls for service we were dispatched to, and a 31% increase in the number of incident reports taken. There was no major change in vehicle crashes, arrests made. During the month, officers went to Iredell Charter Academy and made a presentation, and we partnered with Troutman Fire and Rescue and went to a lifespan where our officers met with their clients to get them more familiar with emergency personnel and make it a more comfortable experience. On May 6th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., we will be hosting a pickup kickball game for the community, which will be similar to the baseball stuff we did this summer, but due to some repairs or work that's going to be on the baseball fields during the summertime, didn't look like we're going to be able to do the sandlot baseball. And Sergeant Steichleather and Officer Hudler are on squad together, and that event really means a lot to them, so they decided to organize and work to create a kickball event to try and that way make it more open for people that, if they didn't have equipment or anything. We'll have a hot dog stand there. People can buy food and drinks. And so that'll be on May 6th, Saturday, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the park down at the baseball fields. On May 20th, as Parks and Rec mentioned, we'll be having the Red and Blue 5K, which is a partnership between us and Troutman Fire and Rescue and Parks and Recreation. All the proceeds will go to two funds. One goes to the Firefighters Burn Children's Fund is the charity they chose, and we chose the First Responders Children's Foundation, or which is was started right after 9/11 to help pay education expenses or bills for the families of a first responder that's killed in the line of duty. So everybody can sign up for that at runsignup.com, or you can come register on race day at 6 p.m.
Where will that start, Josh? Will that start up here at the shelter? Where will that start?
Yeah, it'll start at the depot, and it'll run the greenway up to the barium area and turn around and come back down.
May I ask, all these are on the Facebook too, aren't they?
Yes.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't write them down, but if they're on Facebook, I don't need to.
Yes, they are.
Okay, thank you.
We can send you an email with all the dates if you'd like us to do that.
If you would, please, that'll be fine too. Yes, ma'am.
They'll be in your newsletter too.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to mention one more thing. At Monday's agenda briefing, Councilmember Harris mentioned a CARPO training. So I mentioned that to Andrew, and with his connections, he reached out to CARPO, and we are working on scheduling them to come and speak with you all and do some training at the end of May. So.
Which Harris are you speaking of?
The husband. The husband.
I'm trying to, yeah.
Big Poppy might not like you saying that.
I can run faster. As long as I can run faster, I'm okay.
Before I get into my normal comments, Mr. Mark Taylor is here this evening. Just to remind you all, somewhere in the neighborhood of a year, I guess, is that right? He brought to the attention the town of Troutman and council that when the water line was constructed out Murdoch Road to now what is we know to be the Walmart Fulfillment Center, his concerns were, and his research, that there was no deeded easements and or deeded right-of-ways of record. So over the time of either misunderstandings or miscommunications, he and I spoke this evening for clarification purposes, and what it simply boils down to, whether it be current property owners or people that may inherit the property at future times, the general thought process is we need something that is of full legal, civil, and otherwise, that tells these property owners and or potential purchasers in the future that there is actually a deeded easement or deeded right-of-way. Back when this utility was put in, it was developer-based, meaning the developer did it, not the town, but that still does not alleviate that there needs to be certain documentation. I think, as our town council can tell you, we all throughout North Carolina have learned, and Mark and I talked this evening of one particular property I owned 20 years ago. I actually had a state road on it that never had a deeded right-of-way or deeded easement. So the way that things were done and or mislabeled, possibly, when it went through the Register of Deeds office, at this point, neither one of us are saying that there's no deeded right-of-way or easement that exist. What he is saying through his research, he has not found it. And for in-laws and other family members out there, he is simply requesting that the town help ensure that in fact there is a deeded easement or right-of-way. If there is not, that we create one. And I think that's not a simple process, but now that we are in better communications, did I say anything that you disagree with?
Yes, sir.
So we will proceed forward through our engineer who was not involved in that process, and possibly through Gary or someone that he recommends for deed research, one, to ensure that it never was recorded and or mislabeled. If that's the case, then we will go forward with trying to make things better so that property could be transferred later without any concerns or issues that the Troutman water line is now in the ditch next to the road. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Mr. Taylor's here if you all have any of us on that topic.
Do we know if the developer actually has the deeds or no?
It was customary, as we also both agree, that never was done, but as Gary, I think, in one of the emails to us advised, and Mark with his day job, and me corresponding with other towns, that is something that a lot of places, and Lynn and I spoke about it already, as form of policy, they're making sure that there are such things going forward, because for the last 100 years, as I said, it could have been not filed, it could have been mislabeled, but to ensure that there's not issues like this going forward, municipalities throughout the state, several, are requiring that before utilities are installed, that there be proof that the deeded easement or right-of-way actually exists. In this situation, there was a deeded or document signed from DOT stating, yes, there's a right-of-way ditch to ditch. That was the terminology. As Mark can tell you again from his expertise, a lot of people assume it's a 15-foot right-of-way or a 30-foot right-of-way, but a lot of these older ones simply state ditch to ditch. And even by today's modern way of doing business, that's no longer an accepted practice. You have to decide how many feet there is of a right-of-way. The utility should be installed in that right-of-way if it exists. But as Lynn and I was stating, you basically also then would do a labor easement in case you actually own somebody's property, a construction easement while you're constructing it. In this case, we cannot find that there was ever a construction easement. Now, those are temporary, and those are not filed normally. I can't say that they're never done, but normally they're not filed at the Register of Deeds office. But in our tentative research, we can't find that was done back then. That is some of the things that municipalities, again, throughout the state have learned over the years. When you have a developer-controlled cost, their engineers document, send it, and then the towns either paid full-time engineer or, like ours, is subcontracted, they review the documents for accuracy. Up until recently, it's never been required that people actually provide copies of deeded right-of-ways or easements. You disagree with any of that, Mark?
No, sir. The deed shows at the center of the road. There's no easement or right-of-way, therefore the property owns the center of the road.
Any other questions?
Question, obviously, this needs to be done. It's the
Yes,
right
sir.
thing to do. We need to do it. My question is, Walmart, who bought it from, is, what's her name?
Godly.
Godly.
Excuse me?
Godly.
Kathy Godly.
Thank you, Ms. Godley. Yeah, Kathy. Will she be required to pay for this, or anything? Is this town will have to pay for it?
The town will have to pay for the research. If it is like normal, that's where it can get into he said, she said, and whose opinion are you actually using? Actually having utility on your property normally increases the value of your property. Most property owners allow that as a donation because now their property is more valuable because that easement is there. There have been historical past to where it was denied, they moved the line, but then when the property owner wanted access or some family heir wanted access later, it was denied because of the grief that the town had to go through. But historically, property value increases when you have utilities on your property because it's there, it's accessed. In this situation, most all of these properties are in the county and not in our town limits. I'm not aware of any being in our town limits other than the fulfillment center which receives the utility. So all of them would normally not have these utilities there unless it was run across their property. So the case could definitely be made if it got to that point that we actually increased their value, but there also could be that point to where somebody said, no, yeah, I never gave you permission, I want it moved. And then that's when we would have to have Gary involved and go down that road for eminent domain and or other options.
I just, you know, it's, as long as she's been in development, I'm surprised that they didn't catch it.
Again, this was the normal way of doing business. They asked DOT if they had a right-of-way. DOT provided the document that said, yes, from ditch to ditch. We have that documentation. But there's also a disclaimer in that document that even though they give you permission to do that, they're not verifying that it's 100% valid.
That's good. All right, well, like I say, I mean.
Mark, is that also correct?
You know, it's the right thing to do. We need to do it, so.
So, and I agree with you, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to stress, the builder nor Walmart, either one did anything wrong. They did what was the normal business practice to do. But because of issues like this and that little disclaimer, that's why towns and municipalities have since started changing policy that says, oh no, show us that it's recorded.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, no other questions on that? Thank you all. Thank you, Mark. I would like to reiterate a couple of what you all said, but I promise I win the bet tonight unless you all got long-winded when I'm done. But the department directors did an outstanding job, and I appreciate the kind words that you all made publicly and some individually to the directors themselves or to me. We try in earnest to get the information that you all ask for and to make sure that it is presented in a way that the public and you both understand if there are any questions or why we are doing what we're doing. As you all could hear with some of the mobility plans that's going to be coming with the bike and pedestrian plan that Andrew presented tonight, I could go here for beyond my betting time limit about what each one of these departments have done that has saved our taxpayer dollars and improved in efficiency for the town of Troutman. I think yesterday's budget session showed you all, on one hand, how much work they had accomplished with so little, but again, as the town population and the demands increase, we have to change the funding model there to accommodate and to maintain a certain level of standard. We also have constant plans and working in our downtown area. We have some parking lot improvements. We have East Church Street that is the worst rated street that we have at the dead end portion that soon should be weather permitting. Asphalt is now readily available again. So hopefully we can proceed with those projects as weather and time permits. It's not just as simple as going to East Church Street and grinding up the asphalt. because we don't know what the quality of the subsoil is. If it's properly compacted with enough layers of gravel, then that makes it easy. The residents will be affected the least amount of time. But if they peel the asphalt back and they see a lot of red dirt, that's not going to be good. So that project can quickly get more expensive. But whatever that is, we are preparing for it so we can go forward. I've spoke with a couple property owners that our town parking lot on Wagner Street connects to. So with their permission, we will be proceeding forward with repaving that. There's missing parts of pavement in that parking lot to where you can actually see the dirt. At the time, the blue box, as we call the mail receptacles, was put there for convenience, but as far as traffic flow and the optimal parking spaces, it would be realigned. Handicap spaces would be realigned, but that would also go back more into, once it's completed, of being able to create the downtown master plan as far as some aesthetics with shrubbery, plants, and also to start to become ADA compliant. We have meetings scheduled with DOT on a couple different projects to plan. That area of Wagner Street and Main Street there is one that we hope to accomplish soon. We know that there's existing pooling water. We also know and understand that by today's standards, if those sidewalks and streets were built, they would not be in compliance. So we want to make that, as we are increasing our pedestrian plan, as the residential units increase closer to downtown areas, that's where you would expect normally your higher density townhomes, condos, those type things to exist. And we're trying to make sure that that area is ready pedestrian-wise and parking-wise as those amenities continue to grow and populate in town. I would also like to thank you all for being attentive during our session yesterday. If you all have questions of us, we certainly want to provide you all the information. Excuse me. Sometimes, as we are a small town and almost like a family atmosphere, we talk randomly to one another. Even tonight's council, we joke with one another. I think that's very positive. But in the idea of efficiency, anytime you all have questions of any department head, feel free to email me them with those questions or concerns so that we can get them prepared for you either offline or be prepared to talk about them in a public meeting. But just as you all said, I'd just like to thank staff again because they make my job easier when they do as well as they performed yesterday.
Any other questions for Ms. White or the staff? Not?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion's on the floor to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion received a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, you're welcome to stay. Lights won't be out for at least another 10 minutes.